going live. Let me just see here. I'm waiting for the preview. Right, so we are live. Hello and welcome everyone to another Facebook Live. My name is Jana Retief and I will be your host today. We are very excited about our guest for today. It's Dr. Georgina Pujol-Busquets Guillén. I hope I pronounced it correctly. After years of practice, I can now say it the right way. Georgina has been, I almost want to say, part of the Noakes Foundation team for many, many years. And she's a postdoctoral researcher, and we're really excited to chat with her today. Before we dive in, I just quickly want to talk to you about something really important to us. The Noakes Foundation is on a mission to challenge conventional approaches to health and nutrition, and we need your help to keep moving forward. We have a Patreon page, as you will see the link pass here on the screen here below. We will also pop it in the comments section, but we would really like to encourage all of you to go have a look at that page and support us. We're a non-profit organization that is working towards a healthier future and working towards the legacy of Professor Tim Noakes. So please go have a look there. You will also find our website details here and in the comment section as well. So, Georgina, like I mentioned, you and I, we have known each other for quite some time. I think almost 7 years. Yes. When did you first get involved with the Noakes Foundation?
So I think it was 2017. I first came to work for the Noakes Foundation as an intern. I was doing my master's in global health in Barcelona. And for that master, I was just looking for some internship and some work like experience in the ground. And I found the Noakes Foundation and I just came for 3 months. That was April 2017. And then quickly after that, I think during my first month, I was just like, I think I'm staying in South Africa.
And good choice. Good decision.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I was so incredibly blessed that the Noakes Foundation gave me the opportunity to do my PhD through the University of Cape Town. So I started in 2018. I did my PhD, and once I finished it, it was 2021, end of 2021, 2022. I got the Tim and Marlene Noakes postdoctoral fellowship, which I'm still holding. And so it's been 7 years and a half. And obviously I've changed roles many times and stuff, but I mean, I've been involved with the Noakes Foundation since then.
Wow. And I'm correct if I say you have a background in as a pharmacist, and you originally studied in Barcelona, Spain.
Yes. So I'm from Barcelona, yes. And I studied pharmacy. That's my bachelor. And then I did a master's in nutrition and public health. And obviously then, I was already really interested about, I'd say, other ways to treat diseases. And after that, I moved to global health, which gave me a better understanding of like the global challenges of disease, like surrounding disease and the social determinants, which made, a huge impact in my career. And then that's why, I wanted to just go overseas and have a different experience. And South Africa is just such a unique place to do research in public health, I'll say. And there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of potential to just improve and make a change.
Wow. And tell me a little bit about your PhD. That was quite a unique, first of its kind study, if I understand correctly. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So obviously, because, for whoever doesn't know, like Jana has been highly involved in all my research stuff. So I did my PhD in collaboration of Eat Better South Africa program, which I'm sure, we've talked about it before, but it's a community nutrition education program that has the aim to educate people with the knowledge of non-communicable diseases, how to prevent chronic diseases with nutrition, and also how to have like better metabolic outcomes with it. So my PhD consisted on like three main studies. The first one was a qualitative study where we went and interviewed previous Eat Better South Africa program participants. We interviewed 18 and we went to Ocean View and Atlantis, which are two communities just around 50 minutes away from Cape Town. Then after that, we went to Atlantis, Ocean View, and Cluttersville, which is just a little bit outside Stellenbosch, to do a community assessment. So basically, after our first interaction with previous participants, we realized that if we wanted the program to be sustainable, we had to kind of like optimize the program for the next community to better meet their needs. So that's what we did. And with this community assessment, we interviewed 60 women. And from that assessment, we chose Ocean View to be the community where we would implement a mixed method pilot study, which consisted on the qualitative data side, we had focus group discussions and one-on-one interviews. And the quantitative side, we had a bunch of different assessments. We did diet assessment with 24 hours food recall and food frequencies. We did physical activity and sleep assessments with accelerometers. And then we did a bunch of like blood markers and then body and blood pressure measurements. With all of that, we followed 32 women in Ocean View. We collected data on baseline. Then after the Eat Better South Africa program, which was around nearly 2 months after they started. And then we collected data 6 months after the Eat Better South Africa. So in total, it was a period of 9 months. And well, I can talk about the results later if you want. But I mean, after that, one of the challenges that kept like coming up in our first study as well was the fact that like some of the Eat Better South Africa participants were not getting enough support from their medical doctors and nurses that would see them on a, when they were going to the hospital or for their normal appointments. So we interviewed 16 health practitioners as like the last study of my PhD from the areas where the Eat Better South Africa program was in place. And then from there, we kind of like understood that some of the health practitioners had the need to be also educated in terms of new ways to prevent and also manage disease, especially diabetes, hypertension, obesity, which obviously is very aligned to the Nutrition Network. And that's something that we kind of like knew, but it was not really like explored in a research study. So that was some of the findings. And in general, the findings of the mixed method, which is it's going to be published soon because it's been accepted in a journal. So we're very excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's that we did like a mixed method analysis, which we gathered like all the data from the qualitative side and the quantitative side. And we kind of saw if some of the perceptions of the women were matching the improvements that we could see in the blood markers and the body measurements. So for instance, some women were saying, I'm losing weight and I'm feeling more energetic and stuff, but we actually had to check with the diet assessment and with the body measurement if that was true, because, sometimes what we perceive is not what is happening. But luckily, and as we could imagine, it was the case. So women have felt very energetic and they felt that they were losing weight, and actually that is what was happening. So most of the women, not all of the women, lost weight, and the average of the weight loss was 6 kilos, and they lost also a lot of waist circumference, and the blood pressure also improved. All of these markers were significantly decreasing. Also, HbA1c, which was like such an important finding. And the greatest thing was that all of the markers were sustainable. So none of these markers went back to baseline.
Wow. After how long when did you do the 6 months. That was like 6
Nine,
months.
nine.
9
So
months.
9 months from baseline,
Wow.
and 6 months, more or less 6 months from when we took measurements after the Eat Better South Africa program. Yeah.
I remember that project was the first time that I truly saw the impact of a low carb lifestyle.
Yeah.
I remember it was, I think, within the first 2 weeks that some of the participants' medications had to be adjusted. Some of them came off blood pressure medications. There was a type 1 diabetic in the group whose insulin usage came down, like I want to say almost about half of what she was using. It was absolutely incredible, and that was really within the first few weeks.
Yes,
So that
no, it
was
was incredible. And I mean, I was involved in 2 other programs before, but obviously not at this level, because the amount that the test that we had to undergo for the research and stuff was like much more than the usual. So the findings were like, yeah, I mean, obviously we were impressed because women were improving their health really quickly. And also we have to think that they're from a community where they're experiencing different social economic challenges. These are considered like townships or under-resourced communities where, I mean, you know, there's the banting diets and the low carb, high fat diets are really well known in South Africa, and I mean, obviously worldwide. But in South Africa, they've been known for diets that are like very expensive, and not everyone can afford them. And for us to be able to do a research study in such environment and to be successful, it was like an amazing achievement, to say it this way, and for it to be sustainable, which obviously it's the most important.
Yeah, I think it was really just to solidify what everyone already knew, especially the team from Eat Better South Africa. I mean, you were part of some of the previous programs, and you already saw this is possible. But just to get that through proper research, and like you say, you're going to publish soon. That's really incredible.
Yes, and also to gather, I mean, obviously from blood markers and stuff, it's really important for us to show the data. But I mean, there's a lot of studies that show, that with low carb, high fat diets, people can improve their metabolic health. But actually, to gather all the other information, the social determinants around changing a behavior. So that was incredibly fascinating I think for all of us to understand women's experiences and to actually sit with them and like go through their whole journey. I think it was a journey for us as well to just go with them. And we are incredibly, and I think that we are incredibly lucky and blessed to have had such participants, because we built an extraordinary relationship that we still maintain. So that's
wow. Georgina, before we continue, I just want to say hi to a few people and read some comments. So if this is the first time that you are joining our lives, please let us know where you're from in the comments section. It's always so lovely to hear from you all. And if you have any specific questions for Georgina, you can just pop them in there and we will get to them. So I want to start with saying Glaucio Brooks said, good morning, all the way from Brazil. She's on her way to work, but she left you a comment, a question, and she said she will come back later, watch the live and watch your answer to it. So we'll get to that in just a bit. Then Almeri is saying, good day, all the way from Walvis Bay, Namibia. Sean Sacco saying, hi, Yana, hi, Georgina. Katie saying hi from West Virginia, USA. So thank you, everyone, for popping in and saying hi. It's so lovely to hear from you all. So, Georgina, I want to ask you a question. We're still on that study, but was there a specific reason why it was only women in the study?
Yeah. So I feel like as soon as I started like getting interested in research, which was not when I was studying pharmacy at all, but it was mostly when I joined the Knox Foundation, I immediately started thinking, where are the gaps, right? So obviously in nutrition and public health, there's a lot of gaps, and the preventing disease and also like managing disease with nutrition education is one of the gaps, but also women's health. I mean, there's lack of information. Most of the evidence from some of the like information that we have around science and metabolic health has been explored with men. So it was a matter of interest, but also need to just focus on women. Also, in relation to metabolic health and the social determinants, the fact that asking someone to change dietary behaviors in an environment where it is socially and economically very challenging, it has been explored, but in terms of like women experience can be completely different to men experience. Because we've seen it with the Eat Better South Africa program, for instance, when the Eat Better South Africa has come into a community, it has never been only for men and women. The groups are always mixed, but there's always the majority of people participating are women. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. It could be like the role that they have within their household, like if they're in charge of the cooking, if they're in charge of, what the kids are cooking, or, it can be different, gender behaviors and roles. So for this study, we thought that it would be very important to focus on women only, to just create more like a better understanding on the metabolic health around women, which is different from men because our hormones are different. We had women, for instance, that were going through menopause, and that obviously impacts women's health, and especially related to diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity would like literally change a lot depending on like how fat is distributed within your body. It's different from men and women. So we just wanted to focus on women for all of these reasons. Yeah.
Can we maybe talk a little bit about the lack of representation of women in research? From my understanding, the majority of research in history has been done only on men. Is that correct?
It is correct, yeah. Which surprising, but not, because as I said, it's not that easy to do research in women because our hormones kind of like fluctuate depending on our cycles, and that changes quite a lot. And unfortunately, there's not much research around that. So it's not that we can clearly say this is the reason, this is not the reason, or these are the changes. But fortunately enough, I think that there's much more research going on around women's health. And yeah, also, to be honest, to do research, you need funding. And most of the funding comes from nowadays, like big pharmas or big industries. And some of the leaders in these industries are men. So obviously, if women are not leading or they're not in leading positions, it's going to be quite difficult for research that is involving women only to get funding. So obviously there's a mix. Also in academia, it's funny enough, like most of the people that do research in science, like metabolic health, or even think about like health practitioners or like nurses and stuff, are women. But when you see the leading positions, it's only 30%. So obviously here you think a lot about family dynamics. Some women that starts their own family at some point, and like how do they balance life, professional life with like personal life and stuff like that. So it's always challenging. But things like the consequences of us not having enough information or enough research in women's health are devastating, because we don't really understand the symptoms when women are experiencing some symptoms, like for instance, like heart attack. It's completely different for women or men. Or also the pills that we're taking, the drugs that we're taking have been tested mostly in men, but not in women. But we take it anyway, as if our bodies were working the same way. So there is a huge need to just go deep into that field. Obviously, I understand the challenges. We've experienced the challenges with our own research, and we keep experiencing the challenges because every woman is kind of like a unique case. But I guess that this shows us that in general, we should also focus in like personalizing healthcare and like individualizing the way we treat patients. And I think we're going that direction. So yeah.
So, would you then say, for example, if someone goes onto the low carb or the banting lifestyle, it's different if you're a woman versus when you're a man?
Yes, definitely. And not only that, obviously, depending on your current health and your lifestyle and everything, it's just, I feel like there's no one fit for all here at all. Like, yeah. And also because it's a lifestyle and it's not a diet that you should do for like to accomplish one thing. It can be so different for everybody, and and that's the interesting part when you do diet assessment and you do 24 hours food recalls and food frequencies and stuff. Like, everyone would answer different things, but whatever works for you is what's best for you. So I think that's the key.
That's great. I'm quickly gonna pop over to the comment section again because we've got a few more people saying hi. Kieran is saying listening from the west of Ireland. Anne is saying, hi, girls. Hi, Anne. Lovely to see you here again. Sean is actually saying he will catch the rest of this later. He was stopping during his cycle. So you're saying, great to see you both. So, Sean, I hope you enjoy the rest of your cycle. And then Almir is also saying hi all the way from Gordon's Bay. Just a reminder, because I see our views are climbing. We've got 116 people with us. So please, if you have any questions for Georgina, you are welcome to pop them here in the comment section and we will do our best to get to it. And I'm actually thinking maybe, Georgina, on that note, I still got a lot of questions for you, but let's just go over to Glauce's question from earlier. So she is saying and asking, I'm a 52-year-old and I've been on the diet for about 2 years and I'm feeling great and more active than ever. I'm not sure if my question is right for this live, but recently I've started menopause and developed rosacea in my cheeks and also noticed an annoying buzzing in my ear. Is that normal? Any insights are welcome. Thanks a lot.
Well, I think I'm not really qualified to answer this, but I would say it doesn't really, I'm not sure if it's like related to the diet. Might be related to menopause. Who knows? Again, there's not a lot of research in menopause, which we should do more. But I mean, yeah, I think that obviously, she should go and check it, get it checked.
Can I let's just quickly talk about menopause, because for me, I've only, to be very honest, recently started thinking about it, and then I've come across terms like perimenopause, but it's almost like this, I don't know, this vague terminology that's being used and thrown around, but no one can clearly explain to me what it is. And if you start doing some research, your own research, it's like such a vast amount of information, and it's so difficult to clearly, I would say, define what it is and to know what to understand and what to expect. Because for me, the very interesting thing was when I read that perimenopause actually starts up to 10 years before menopause starts, and it can start as early as 35. And I'm now at that barrier. So I figured I better start doing some research on the topic. And I mean, it's true. And if anyone, I always just want to say, if there's anyone maybe listening today that's got a specific interest in these topics, maybe you're a researcher, maybe you're looking to fund a specific project, please reach out to us. This is clearly an under-researched area, and so important for us as women to better understand our bodies, which will lead to better health outcomes, and also so we can then educate the future generations better.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like menopause is just, what do you say, like the elephant in the room for women's health. Especially there's a lot of different determinants that are more related to our culture and the way we socialize. It's been kind of there's a lot of stigma around menopause, and even within our own household, obviously depending on the culture, but menopause has been something that it's always been a secret. And in a way, it's a little bit similar to when a girl starts her puberty. So all of these major hormonal changes in women's life have always been a secret in families, in society, or in a way we haven't had the space to talk about it. So therefore, when you ask someone like what is menopause, or when you actually do some research, there's so many different symptoms and everyone experiences differently. You don't even know when it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen, but you don't know what it is, and it's just this enigma that is like, one day I'm going to get there and let's see what's going to happen to me. So funny enough, or interesting enough, actually, now we're doing a study with the Knox Foundation and also in collaboration with Fundación Ramón Areces and Spanish scientists in Southern African countries that we're looking at thyroid disease, and we have like 5 participants, female participants, and we're like following them throughout 3 months. They've been changing their diet into a low carb, high fat diet. We're trying to see if not only their metabolic health improve, but also their thyroid hormones improve. And most of these women are going through menopause. So obviously it's a huge theme. We're doing group discussions every 2 weeks, and I've done like one-on-one interviews with them, and the amount of challenges that are related to menopause and the symptoms they're experiencing and the confusion around those symptoms and not understanding if those symptoms might be from the disease they're suffering, some other metabolic health disorders that are happening, or actually it's menopause. And I think the reality is that everything is very like linked to each other, but it's difficult to understand like which comes from what,
Yeah.
So same with like insulin resistance at the end. It's like there's so many other factors that are happening with insulin resistance. And one of the most interesting thing that we're exploring now with this study is the fact that because we created this like group support in a way, like we talk very often and stuff, we realized that some of the challenges that these women are experiencing, although they're not diabetics, for instance, are very similar to previous studies that we've done with diabetic patients. And that gives us an understanding of the need of getting or being part of a group when you're doing dietary changes or any sort of changes in your life, but also when you're experiencing a chronic condition or you've been told that you have a chronic disease, how important it is to share that with people that are going through the same things and to be able to just, learn from others people's experiences, but also have the chance to share your own experience.
So speaking of the thyroid study, I was thinking I was going to ask you about that. Maybe you can explain to the audience a little bit more about maybe just a brief, what is thyroidism and hyper, what's the difference? And then what is this study set out to show or to prove, or to specifically, what's the outcomes? What are you hoping to achieve with this research?
Okay. So the reason why we decided to get into thyroid is because there's a little bit of enigma and I would say controversy with thyroid hormones and low carb, high fat diets. Some people might say they're not good. Some people might say, people with thyroid disease need carbohydrates, etc. So we just wanted to understand better this disease and the impact of a lower carbohydrate diet in the disease. So in general, there's 2 disorders with the thyroid hormones. One is hyperthyroidism, which means that you have overactive thyroid gland, and hypothyroidism, which is you have an under thyroid gland. So basically, there's like.
Can I ask a question about that? Because I've heard people say in the past, I've got a underactive thyroid, so my metabolism is slow. And then some people would say I have an overactive thyroid, so my metabolism is fast.
So metabolism is something that is affected with the thyroid. So thyroid controls a lot of things, like, the levels of energy, your metabolism, like sleep, like so many other things, like also like hormonal cycles, periods, etc. So it is really related to a lot of things. It's true that with hypothyroidism, if you have had it for a long time and your hormones are not well balanced, you might experience that it's more difficult for you to lose weight. That's one of the the symptoms that you can experience, but not always. That's the thing, that not always. I think that with thyroid diseases also, there's not a lot of research. And one of the reasons is that there's big pharma companies behind the understanding of like this disease, and the fact that like it's a chronic disease and you just take a little pill every single day and you're fine. Obviously the doses change throughout, your life, but it's a chronic disease and people don't really talk about it. There's, it's not something that you can see from the outside. It's not like diabetes that unfortunately, like, it moves very fast, and with the years, like, your body degenerates a lot. With thyroid disease, it's kind of like you can sustain it and just live with it for the rest of your life, which fortunately makes it more difficult for people to just have different approaches to it. There's this pill that works apparently like really well. So then why would you make any changes in your life to make your life better? So with diabetes, I feel like that has shifted quite a lot, with even in the whole society, the way we understand diabetes or hypertension or obesity, the fact that like we understand that there has to be also a lifestyle change. But with thyroid, we're still not there. So that's one of the reasons also we wanted to like try to introduce this lifestyle and like mix it with the understanding we have with this disease, and also like some of the underthyroid disease, which is called Hashimoto disease, it's autoimmune. So again, there's no understanding of why it happens. So you create antibodies against your thyroid gland, and your body just destroys that.
All right. I just want to read a comment here from Anne, and she said, your comments, Jan, about the perimenopause, I never got to experience any of that. I was given a hysterectomy at the age of 33. If I only knew what I know now. It comes back to the lack of research, the lack of education, lack of informing patients about, what the importance of our organs. She was saying, if I only knew what I know now about how insulin resistance can affect all your hormones, so I have had to do the reverse study. And she's saying, P.S. I'm 70 now. And then she's also saying my thyroid counts were very low. But after low carb, and she's saying Atkins at that time, my numbers came back to normal and I was able to stop thyroid treatment.
That is amazing. And I think that, there's quite a lot of cases like this, but if you look on the research, on the evidence that is out there, there's not many like research studies done with low carbohydrate, high fat diets and thyroid disease. So, we're very excited about our study. It's a case study. So we have 5 participants that we've been following. And actually, the findings we won't know until the end of the year, where we gather like the post-intervention data. But some of the findings that I can share are more related to the qualitative ones from the one-on-one interviews that we had and the group discussions. And women are already experiencing weight loss, or that's their perception. And also they feel more energetic and they feel less fatigue, which is one of the symptoms that a lot of people with thyroid disease experience constantly. Like they feel very lethargic, and like it's, they have a lot of anxiety as well, and they feel fatigue constantly. So that is like a great finding, because at the end of the day, we want this to be very sustainable, and we won't know until the end of the year if this has affected their thyroid hormones. But if they are experiencing improvement, that's what matters.
I've got a question. So the participants in the study, have they gone through some type of intervention, or what did they receive, or what was the intervention that they received in order to make that lifestyle change?
So they actually took part of 2 Nutrition Network courses. So they did the trainings. This has helped them to understand, or to have a better understanding of the diet, but also like the metabolic aspects of the disease, not only thyroid disease, but all other chronic diseases. With that, they've got a lot of information for them to kind of understand what are the changes that they have to do. It hasn't been, they haven't received like a meal plan and they have to follow this meal plan for 3 months. We've decided that because we want this to be sustainable and we want them to make the changes that are more like accommodating their needs and stuff. They are the ones that are doing their changes. But another course that they're taking is the women's health one, which is obviously very interesting because, as I said, some of them are going through menopause, but also other things. And it's a really, really, really interesting course. And I'm just saying, if there's someone here that is looking for information, like, you should like do it, because actually I think everything that we're talking in this live, it's in that training, and obviously more detail.
Yeah, so I think the first training, the initial training they did was the advisor training, if I recall correctly. And I'll ask the media team to just pop the links to these trainings in the comment section if anyone wants to go check them out. So yeah, the advisor training is like introduction to LCHF, low carb, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction. It's really gives you all the information you need to get going. And then the women's health one, that's really an incredible one. I think some of those topics were also discussed from the Women's Health Summit that was held by the Nutrition Network, I think 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm correct. Can't remember. I know you also presented at the summit, Georgina. So I remember that.
Yeah.
So something that's quite interesting is you didn't tell the participants of the thyroid study what to eat, like this is what you have to eat. It's really about providing them with the information, and then, like you spoke about earlier, it's about that behavior change, like them going and change their behavior according to the new information and that they found. Which also makes me think back about the Eat Better South Africa programs and how it's really about educating community members and just providing the information, and then them going and say, okay, well, I would like to start making these changes. And I was wondering, you were also involved in a study that we recently did in collaboration with Eat Better South Africa and Danone. And I was wondering if we can chat a little bit about that, because that was quite interesting in terms of the results and what results that we didn't expect and what we did expect and kind of what came from there. So do you maybe want to give everyone a bit of background, what we did there and how that went?
Yes, sure. So I think now you mentioned a lot of things. So,
yes. So first, let's just start at the beginning, the Danone project that we did in South Africa. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, yes, I think it's very like the studies that we're doing now are like different from the Eat Better South Africa ones, but there's this common thing, which is like providing the knowledge, which we've proved and we've seen many times that this is what makes the change. If you go to someone and give them a meal plan, but you don't give them the knowledge behind that meal plan or the way, like why they have to eat this way, it's not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable. And we've understood many times and with previous studies that what is most important is that the changes have to be sustainable for everyone. So that's the approach that we took with this study. And then, so for the study in Danone, so Danone is a township that is just also like just outside Cape Town. I would say like 20 minutes outside Cape Town. There are many social economical challenges. It's an under-resourced community, and we had the opportunity with the Eat Better South Africa program to start this study. We call it like a diabetic club. So Eat Better South Africa program like started a collaboration with the Danone clinic, and they started a diabetic club where they gather like once a week or twice a week with different patients. They were type 2 diabetics and also like type 1, some of them. And they just started giving them a lot of the information, and they kind of like, we optimized the program of the Eat Better South Africa program. It was not the same because previously with the Eat Better South Africa program, we were getting into the community, whereas here we were collaborating directly with the clinic. But we gathered the same information. We did diet assessments as well with food frequencies. We got HbA1c and fasting glucose, and we had waist and circumference, also weight, also other measurements, and then blood pressure. And what we saw, and also a lot of focus group discussions. We did it before the program and after the program. And basically what we saw is that it was very challenging for a lot of people to make changes, but some of them were really, really successful. The most important thing that participants mentioned was that they received a lot of support, and also the knowledge that they were getting, which was unfortunately completely different from the knowledge that they got before around diet and the stuff that they should do as diabetics. Some of them, they never had received information about the disease, or even if they got some information, it was maybe a pamphlet. Regarding the diet, it was following the standard diet and like eating a lot of fruit, eating several times a day, etc., which was obviously not aligned to what Eat Better South Africa was recommending. We could see a lot of changes in blood pressure, and then in HbA1c as well. The problem we had, not the problem, is that we realized that this community is facing a lot of difficulties and challenges around access to food and food security, which is something that we've experienced in a lot of our communities. But in a way, in this community, some of the patients were like quite sick, which before we've worked with people with a lot of metabolic diseases and stuff, but like us being involved in the community has had a completely different experience to this one. So I think that the major changes that we've seen in this community have been around knowledge, which has been amazing, because for some of them, it's been an eye-opening to understand their disease and to understand what is that they have to do for them to be better. Some of them, some of the cases that we had were people that were almost giving up, just saying, I won't be able to continue. And there was apparently, which we didn't know, a lot of stigma around diabetes as well. Also, some of the patients were also struggling with other diseases like tuberculosis, HIV, etc., which make it like more difficult for them to even talk about disease and share their experiences as someone with a chronic disease. So the group support was something that really helped them go through this journey. Also, it's very interesting because we follow them through a year, which is a lot of time. So we got to see a lot of changes, but not only, as I said, like with metabolic health, but also like personally, how they being able to share their experience with others and also feel so supported by others, and the Eat Better South Africa program as well. So that's been so rewarding, and this is a collaboration that is ongoing, and we want to establish a more like solidified collaboration and like keep working there. And it's such an amazing opportunity to work in a clinic like the Noon, because it's such a good clinic, and we've been collaborating with them for now almost 2 years, and we've established this collaboration, and there's so much opportunity to obviously keep doing this diabetic club, but also like keep empowering patients.
Yeah. And Georgina, you mentioned the stigma around type 2 diabetes, and particular what we gather through the qualitative assessments, and something like really stood out for me, and that was that some of the participants felt that they could not get married, they could not have a family, they should not get too close to other people, because they felt that the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes was a death sentence, and family and friends told them it would be very selfish of them to to have those things, family and kids, because they will just die. And I think, if I recall correctly, some of the things that also came out towards the end was just that feeling of hope and that feeling of empowerment through the education. And there was this one participant which in specifically stood out, and he almost, I think it might even now, his diabetes might now already be in remission, but he brought his blood sugars down from dangerously high levels to, I think it's now probably healthy. Yeah. And he was so incredibly inspired by this program that he ended up creating his own group, WhatsApp group. He is from Zimbabwe, and he's got a big group of people there that he is now educating. He's completed 2 of the Nutrition Network trainings, and that just kind of speaks to the ripple effect of, I mean, not just the work of Eat Better South Africa, but once you have that information and once you've been kind of received that education and you've seen kind of what that can do, to yourself, to somebody you love, how your health can improve. It just really, it's quite amazing to see that.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that we've seen all the time with all our studies, and obviously with the Eat Better South Africa program as well. The fact that when you educate one person, you give the knowledge, this type of knowledge to someone, it doesn't stay with that person. It just spreads so much because, and why wouldn't you? If you're doing something that really helps you, and even with ourselves, even with our lives, like we do it all the time with people around us, the fact that we want to share what works for us, but also, we want other people to be healthier and like live longer. And it's been amazing to see that some of the participants have been so empowered to just become Eat Better South Africa coaches and just run their own groups. And they have this kind of like need to share what they've learned with other people. And that proves that there is a need to learn, which is something that has, I feel like at the beginning when we were doing the Eat Better South Africa research study, a lot of people had this idea of like, oh, this diet might be too expensive. How would you go to a place where someone cannot afford this diet and like tell them this is what they have to do? But the principles of the low carb, high fat diet are universal. It's basically eating real food. And this type of knowledge is not available to everyone. When we do the sugar demo, that you've done it, Jana, you've done it like thousands, millions of times, and which is obviously like during the first sessions of the Eat Better South Africa program, but also we've done workshops with the Knox Foundation around that. And we show people the amount of sugar that is in the food that they eat, not the sugar per se of, like the amount of like sugar spoons that there is in bread, in a cake, in pasta, in, rice or whatever. That is like mind blowing for some of the people. And that's the reality. Like most of the people live their lives without knowing this. So
Yeah, that's
for
true.
the Eat Better South Africa program and for the Knox Foundation, when we do these studies, and obviously other people doing studies in low carb, high fat, it's not only about the diet itself. It's just also providing, a knowledge that we all have the right to have.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is often that people eat certain foods, or they consume certain foods that's perceived as healthy because it's marketed as healthy, because Dr. dietitian told them what to eat. We did a sugar demo last week, Friday, at a senior center in Dunoon with the amazing coach Simankele from Eat Better South Africa, and some of the Noakes Foundation Nutrition Network members also joined for the day. And just from that demo, you could clearly see just the almost like the disbelief of when people realize the hidden sugars in food that we consume. And from there, Eat Better South Africa has been invited now again to go and do this type of workshop at other places as well. So if there's anyone, again, interested in learning more about Eat Better South Africa, I think the media team did already put their website there, but you can get in contact with them if you want them to come and do a workshop for you. Please reach out. I know they and the Noakes Foundation, the Nutrition Network, we're also always looking to collaborate with people so we can educate and bring awareness around these topics. Georgina, there's another question for you. It's around type 2 diabetes. So Kim is asking, can a thin person show type 2 diabetes symptoms? My wife weighs only 32 kilograms, but showed extreme hyperglycemic, hyperosmolar state, I hope I'm saying that correctly, symptoms over the last 2 weeks. And I have cut her carbs to the virtually zero. And what a change. We married the girl I married, just not sure if I'm, but married 38 years ago and have known her since she was 7. Oh, and she's back for the last 3 days. The girl that I married 30 years ago. 38 years ago, and she's back. But the GP tells me that she is too thin to have diabetes. How do you view this? Guidance, please. Kim here from Amazon Toti.
So I think that the weight, it's not really related for a lot of people with having diabetes or not. Also, she said she's type 2 diabetes or 1.
No, so the doctor is saying she's not diabetic because
Okay.
she's too thin.
Okay.
But from my understanding, Kim is saying, but she probably is, or she might be, because they cut her carbs down to 0, and now she's doing so much better.
I think that's an interesting question, because a lot of people can relate to that. Like, for some people, weight will be directly related to insulin resistance. For some people, it won't. So there's a lot of ways for your body to show that it's insulin resistant, and weight can be one, but it's not it's not the norm for everyone. So I would say that the most important thing is that they have to go and do blood test and see if the HbA1c is below 5.5, and also see if the fasting glucose, fasting insulin, and see how it goes. But in general, as always, like, if her experience is that she is better and she feels better, it's not going to hurt that she's eating real food, because that's what low carb, high fat diets are promoting. So, and I think that's a message that we should keep, putting out there. The fact that there's no this miraculous diet that's going to solve all your problems or whatever. It's just the types of food that you should eat more often. Obviously, where we live in a society, we're bombarded with so many other marketing strategies and different foods and stuff like that, and no one's perfect, and we don't pretend to be perfect. We don't say you cannot eat this or that never again, but just the type of foods that you have to eat normally. At the Knox Foundation, we have these resources, which are the green list, the orange list, the red list, and I think that it's pretty easy to understand. Okay, I just have to eat from the green list, orange list once in a while, red list mostly ever, and if it works for you, go ahead.
I think that's such good advice. No one's the same, and no one body will respond the same. And I'm going to ask again our media team just to pop the link. We've got it on our website, the green, orange, and red food lists. We'll pop that link in the comments section for everyone to have a look at. So, Georgina, I have to ask you, because I almost always ask this to people that I interview. What do you eat? I mean, there's carnivore, keto, banting, low carb, this whole, I want to say, spectrum within the low carb lifestyle. So what's your lifestyle like?
So I'm celiac, so I cannot eat gluten. So I think that for me it was always, it's been always easier to not have cravings for certain foods and stuff, because I cannot have them in general. But coming from Barcelona, Spain, I grew up with Mediterranean diet, a lot of fish, a lot of fish. My family loves fish, much more than meat. And when I came to South Africa, I became more carnivorous, I would say. I've never eaten as much meat since 7 years ago. I feel like in South Africa we have really good meat, really good meat at an affordable price compared to Europe, because in Europe, if you want to buy good meat, it's so expensive. But my diet is mostly low carb, not keto, not carnivorous, right? Low carb, high fat. Also, I feel like now, I have a baby, I'm breastfeeding. I eat more now than ever, I think. And yeah, even when I was pregnant and stuff, I just stayed in my, eating the same way. I've included more fruit in my diet, which helped with, I guess, the amount of extra calories that I needed to be pregnant and breastfeed and stuff. But yeah, I eat low carb.
Wonderful. So I see we're almost at the end of our live. So I've got one last question for you. And I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions. So, how do you see the future of nutrition education evolving, especially in the light of your research findings? And what role do you think community-driven initiatives will play in this evolution?
I think the two questions, the last question answered the first question in a way. How important is to approach community as an individual level and like every patient? So I feel like in general, in nutrition education and like healthcare, like patient care is going to be so individualized and personalized, and platforms like Nutrition Network are so needed because from our findings we found like some of the patients or participants in the Eat Better South Africa program have always had this challenge of like, how do I approach my doctor or my nurse or my dietitian and I tell them that I'm doing this diet, and actually some of the health practitioners have only started supporting their patients once they've seen the changes. So obviously there's a huge gap in knowledge here, and I think that Nutrition Network is doing an amazing job to fill up this gap and like provide this information to doctors, nurses, therapists. Everyone, dietitians, everyone, and I hope that this is going to make a massive change in the way we see patients and the way we treat people in general, because I feel like the more now that we have a lot of access to different information, patients are getting really empowered with knowledge, and they look for the knowledge or whatever they want themselves. So that is a great thing. We should not be scared of that as even myself as a pharmacist, or like, because that makes our society like more equal, and we all, as I said before, we all have the right to know these things. And I'm not saying like we should all challenge our doctors and stuff, but in a way, yes, because we do have to trust the people that has to take care of us, but we also have the right to ask questions and just understand, or like we have the right to ask for like the knowledge that they have, if it's for our health and for the health of the people that we love. And I think that patients will get more empowered by this knowledge, and which they are already, and it's going to be like a shift. I think that finally the conversation between health practitioners and patients is going to be more one-on-one. It's not going to be like this God that is the doctor that's telling you this is what you have to do, don't even ask me, just follow. It's going to be more like, okay, let's see what works for you, let's try this, let's try that, hopefully to work more in a multidisciplinary environment where we also take into account mental health and the implications of that, and everyone's individual circumstances, environment, socioeconomic determinants around the development of diseases. And for this, we need to talk to patients and people and understand their experiences and their perceptions. And I think that with all of this, healthcare and the way we approach diseases is going to be improved.
What a fantastic, optimistic, inspiring answer. Thank you so much for that, Georgina. And again, thank you so much for joining us today and being here and talking to us about all of these very important subjects. Really appreciate it. To our audience members, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for your great questions. We're looking forward to the next live, and we hope we're going to see you there. And then just a reminder to please go have a look at our Patreon page and see how you can also help support the work of the Noakes Foundation. I hope everyone will have a lovely day further, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.